There you go. Hello, everyone. This is the first video of Chapter 2 lecture about why leisure is vital. In this chapter, there are several points. First of all, can you explain why leisure is important to us, human beings, and to our happiness? And that's part of the thesis, the main topic of this course, right? Life, leisure, pursuit of happiness. So can you do that? And then the information provided in this chapter and activities should help you to be able to do it. Specifically, can you refer to and describe different benefits of leisure? We'll talk about many benefits. And identify specific benefits of leisure in examples. If I give you an example, can you identify specific benefit? And tell me why you thought that certain benefit is in there. And using theories and evidence that we learn in this chapter, can you convince other people of the leisure's benefits? Because some people don't think leisure is important, but I would argue it is, and the science suggests that leisure is important. So can you use theories and evidence to back up your argument? And I want you to be able to do that at the end of this course too. So in chapter 2, we will talk about 12 different benefits of leisure. 12, that's a lot, yes. So there's gonna be quite a bit of videos. We're gonna go one by one, and here's the overview. We will start with the first benefit of freedom. Feeling free, getting free from rules and regulation maybe, and choosing what you want to do. Textbook even say that leisure cannot exist at all if our perception of freedom is not there. So freedom is it's not just a benefit and a consequence of leisure. It's the necessary condition for us to have a leisure, at least a good kind of leisure, maybe. Actually, one of the first leisure psychologists, John Newlinger, agreed with this perspective, and he defined purest, the best kind of leisure experience based on perceived freedom. So by perceived freedom, we mean basically what matters is perception. It doesn't really matter how many options and how many choices you actually have and how free you are. It doesn't matter. Maybe you don't have many options, but you think that you do. You think you have options. That's what it counts. Perception counts. And here you go. So he identified 4 types of human experiences. One of them is a so-called pure leisure, left top here. And there are 2 things that sort of categorizes human experiences. And one of them is at the top, red, perceived freedom, ranging from high perceived freedom to low. Okay, so pure leisure only occurs when you feel that you have a lot of freedom. Perceived freedom is high. The other continuum is motivation. We're going to talk about that later. And then we're going to revisit this model later to explain the entirety. But this model is very important. It's called a Newlinger's leisure paradigm. And purest leisure, pure leisure is up here, left top. And that's, according to Newlinger, the best kind of experience. According to the textbook, there are 2 types of freedom. One is freedom from obligations, such as, obligation including work. You take a vacation, that's the kind of it here. And freedom from involves both, getting free from paid work, like work, non-paid work, like parenting maybe, and other constraints, whatever constraints, gender norms, maybe other things as well. The other kind of freedom is this, freedom to choose something that you want. Basically, do what you want. That's the kind of freedom. They are related to each other in real world, very much. But at the same time, textbooks argue that there is a distinct aspect to them too. And textbook even goes to argue that freedom from is less satisfying, less good than freedom to. And they give us a few reasons. And that's where I get iffy about, not sure. And I actually disagree. I don't necessarily think that freedom from obligation is less satisfying than freedom to. For example, a textbook argue that leisure as freedom from is considered as less satisfying because is leisure as freedom from possible for someone retired from paying job? Maybe freedom from doesn't apply to certain group of people in our society, and thus it's not that important. Do you agree? And also textbook says that freedom to requires knowledge, self-knowledge, ability, resources, and permission to an extent from other people to choose. So it's more satisfying, and there are more conditions that you have to meet. So when you actually meet them and you actually achieve this freedom too, it's more satisfying, gratifying. Now, here you go. I want you to actually disagree with this. Can you make a logical argument arguing that basically freedom from may be as important as satisfying as freedom to? Can you do that? How can you do it, Shin? Well, there may be a couple ways. One of them is to basically disagree with the reasons here. For example, they basically said, the textbook said that freedom from is less satisfying because it doesn't apply to some people who retired from work. But if you can show logically that people who retired from paid jobs still have many obligations, right, from which they can be free from, then freedom from actually applies to those people as well. Then you can basically, counter this argument. What about the other part? Freedom to requires so many things. If you can argue that the freedom from also requires maybe self-knowledge, maybe some ability, maybe some resources, and also a permission, then you can actually make a good argument that no, this reason applies to both, and therefore freedom to is also important as well. What's really problematic for me here is that maybe freedom to is more of a privileged idea. You have to have so many resources, for example, maybe you have to have more time, maybe you have to have more money to be able to choose so many, what you want out of so many, options. Freedom from is more basic in a way, which doesn't necessarily mean bad thing. And there people for example, in a minority social group actually have a lot of more, we have a lot of freedom from maybe we don't have, or we have more barriers to get to freedom to. So really privileging freedom to so much, I don't think it's a good thing. And I want you to be able to argue both ways. And here your task is arguing for the importance of freedom from. Can you do it? Think about your life. Now, the second benefit the textbook talk about is intrinsic, they say, intrinsic meaning. And I don't want that. Please don't say that. Never in a quiz, never in a discussion, never in the exams, okay? You don't get the point for that. We say intrinsic motivation. It's intrinsic motivation. I've never seen intrinsic meaning. I don't know where it comes from. It's one of those few times that textbook gets wrong, and that happens. It's okay. So what do we mean by intrinsic motivation? It's doing something for its own sake. For example, you love watching certain kind of TV show on Netflix because it's fun, it interests you, you love doing it. Just what it is. You love playing hockey. Why? There's no reason, because for its own sake, you love the activity. You like it for its own sake. Extrinsic motivation, which is the other kind, is doing something for an external reason, external to the activity, not external to you, external to the activity, okay? Such as maybe money or fame. For example, you go work out, right? Not just because it's fun to run on the treadmill. I don't think, there aren't many people like that. But you do it because you want to look good, maybe. You want to look good and impress other people, right? Or maybe you want to do it for health. Even health, that's external to the activity. It's not that you like just doing this push-up so many times. Nobody really likes that, to be honest. I don't think so. But you know that the health benefits that come from it is important. So that health is still external to the activity of whatever push-up or sit-up or whatever that might be. So intrinsic, extrinsic motivation, you should be able to differentiate them. And then with this information in, we can fully understand Newlinger's leisure paradigm, okay? So the horizontal line is motivation from intrinsic, doing something for its own sake, to extrinsic. So the pure leisure, which is very important, left top, is defined by intrinsic motivation. You're doing that leisure activity for its own sake, and you have a high freedom. Okay, you feel like you're choosing, you're feeling like you're free from obligation and other things. That's where pure leisure occurs. That's the best experience. Now let's look at the different things too here. For example, there are situations you have freedom, a lot of freedom, but your motivation is not necessarily intrinsic, but it's actually extrinsic. For example, gym going, working out is one of the examples maybe. Do you have an option to or not to go to gym? Maybe you do, right? I mean, with the COVID, it's difficult to go, but let's say, you know, no more life, you have an option, you have a freedom. Now, you don't really enjoy working out maybe, but you do it because, you want to show off your good body and your muscle and all that kind of stuff. Maybe that's what it is. Then that's what Newlinger called recreation, or he used a couple different words, but recreation is most simple. And that's the difference between leisure and pure leisure and recreation here, okay? Be aware of that difference, okay? Now, on the bottom side of the model, right? Here we don't have a lot of freedom. A lot of work, obligation come here. For example, for me, doing this professor job, do I have an option? Not necessary. I mean, I need to still make money and I need to still survive and, you know, buy myself and my family, you know, food and stuff, right? So I don't really have a choice not to do. But then I really enjoy what I do, like research and teaching. This is fun for me. I don't necessarily do this because of the money. I mean, so there's that left top, bottom part. I'm intrinsically motivated to an extent, and I don't have much freedom. That's what Newlinger called pure work. And he differentiates this work from the right side, which is a pure job. Or maybe you can call it as a labor. That basically you don't have, you know, freedom, and you're just doing it for external reasons, such as making money. Maybe you do summer job right now and work at their, you know, some sort of construction. Do you really enjoy helping out those construction work? Not at all. You just do that for the sake of money. That's pure job. Job and work are different in Newlinger's model. Now, leisure, different kind of leisure activity behaviors can be motivated both intrinsically, extrinsically, or both at the same time sometimes. Now, overall though, generally, leisure is characterized by the higher intrinsic motivation and lower extrinsic motivation, especially compared to work, okay? And research back it up. For example, Gordon Walker, retired professor from our faculty, he studied Chinese Canadian, I think, and he measured the intrinsic motivation and extrinsic, but I'm showing only intrinsic here across leisure, paid work job, unpaid job, like housework, for example. And what they found was this intrinsic motivation during leisure 5.39 was significantly higher than the other two. So again, intrinsic motivation is actually a benefit of leisure, generally speaking. Now, maybe you think that it's, oh yeah, of course, Shin. Why not? Like, it's very commonsensical. It's like, of course, right? But some people argue that work and leisure are getting, because of technology and different types of working style, maybe you can work from home, you know, flex time, many things. A lot of people are arguing that work and leisure kind of blurred. Distinction is blurred and they're merging together. They aren't so different. But still, our research suggests that no, actually, experience-wise, there's maybe time is kind of merged and blurred, but experiential difference is still there. Intrinsic motivation, very different, significantly different. I'm going to stop this lecture first video here, and I'll see you in the second video.